Good morning. The heavens proclaim the glory of God, and the firmament makes known and today we have another one. Your friends, O Lord, make known the glorious splendor of your reign. Psalm 145. We're celebrating one of those great ones who made known the glorious splendor of his reign, of his kingdom. So we're almost at our point here. So we got to the other side. Just got a bit of pressure with time because of the later sunrise and getting back to Magdala for community time. Just a very clear morning and the sun hasn't risen yet, so we're a little early, but I just thought you'd like these colours. There's very little left of colour on these flowers, but there's still some. So the sun, obviously it's not easy to see them in any circumstance, but when you have all this brush here, even more so. So the fellow making known the glorious splendor of his reign is actually from Syria, from the city of Antioch, which was then a very important city. He was a doctor, and there's debate academically if he was Jewish, and the reason for that is his incredible command of the Greek language version of the Bible, of the Old Testament, which there's the sun for you. So the entire work of this doctor is completely laced with the quotes from the Septuagint, from the Greek version of the Bible that was translated in Alexandria. And then others say he wasn't Jewish because he's not named among the three people that Paul says, and these are the three Jewish people who are with me. And then there's a counter argument to that which says, well, that could also mean that they were still practicing, those three, the Jewish lifestyle, whereas a Hellenized Jew might have left all of that practice. Like we see many Jewish people today. I had a very interesting conversation on Saturday with a Jewish man who, for all intents and purposes, is barely culturally Jewish, very secular, and yet, just probing a little more deeply, he actually has a very strong faith in God. Well, very strong might be too much to say, but he believes that God created the world, that God exists. And so many people might say, well, he's not really Jewish because he's not practicing the external religious tradition of the Jewish people. So that's an open question. Then if Luke, that's his name, Luke the evangelist, who actually never met Jesus. He met him through the disciples, through Paul and others. Because there were Christians in Antioch also before Paul came. He came first of all to kill the Christians, to imprison them, to stop them, to blot them out. And he himself then had that amazing grace. In fact, if we look up here, can we see it now? Before I could see Mount Hermon, and I can't see it now. So it seems to be clouded out of view. But I'm pointing the camera to the rising sun, which is a little south of east at the moment. So up here is the direction of Damascus. And then Antioch was further away. And it became a very important seat of the Roman Empire as well. So the beautiful part of it is the type of guy Luke was. An amazing guy. Doctors, have a lot of knowledge about the human person, and their calling tends to make them compassionate because they have to feel the suffering of the patient, they have to understand it, they have to empathize with it. It's part of their great mission of healing. And so, in that sense, we can see many details in the Gospel of Luke that reflect his medical sensitivity. For example, he speaks about that Jesus' sweat became like blood in Gethsemane. And he's very sensitive to all those who are sick and showing the mercy of God for them in that condition of illness. Those are the ones I wanted. You see, the light of the sun is too strong to see the blue of the plant. It's actually more blue than purple. There it goes completely black in front of all that light. Your friends, O Lord, make known the glorious splendor of your kingdom. And so Luke's gospel is also considered to be the most, the best literature, just as literature in the New Testament, the most beautiful literary work. We have some amazing accounts of the prodigal son, for example, and the lost sheep, and also great sensitivity to women, and Jesus' tender care for all women who were not really very highly treated in antiquity. There were obviously variations in different cultures, but in general they weren't very well treated. And so Luke is outstanding in that way for capturing the great sensitivity Jesus showed to women. So maybe as a doctor as well, he served and treated a lot of women, maybe relatives of his, or who knows how he developed that sensitivity, that formation, that education, that development of his eye of his heart, of sensitivity. And that comes across then in his gospel. The gospel according to Luke. Luke is a very common name in some countries. In Germany, Lucas. In Italy, Luca. Also in Poland, Lukasz. In many countries, it's a very common name. I remember very few in Ireland. And the line that Paul has there also denotes a lot of compassion and goodness of heart. And he says, only Luke is with me. And Paul is in prison in Rome. And even he uses a hard word. He says, if this one fellow deserted me, you can check out his name there in the reading of the link. The others all have their work to do, their mission assignment, but only Luke is with me. That's a nice insight. Another little insight into Paul is he asks, please bring my cloak that I left behind over there. You know, he's ready for martyrdom in a prison in Rome, and yet he's taking care of his health. It's going to be a cold winter, and he needs his coat. Very human, very down to earth. And the gospel met real people in the real place, and it still does. Your friends, O Lord, make known the glorious splendor of your reign. And so there we have a second generation Christian who didn't have the direct contact with Jesus, and yet he communicates the fullness of the mystery of Jesus. Obviously also through primarily the work of the Holy Spirit, which is also available to us. Who is also available to us? He is also available to us. The Holy Spirit is available to us. So we can make known the glorious splendor of his kingdom. Many people can be deeply touched in all the talents we have. And even if we need a coat or a jacket or a sandwich or whatever it is, some people even provide sunglasses for missionaries. Your friends, O Lord, make known the glorious splendor of your kingdom. Oh, we got a bird here sitting on this rock. There's a big rock right there right down the center of the screen. The bird is there sitting on it. I think it's a purple heron. Can you see it? Sorry, I missed the rest, but we got the first moment of flight. That's a huge rock out there on the left of the screen, that big black cube. And Jesus gives instructions for the disciples to go 2 by 2. And there's a great insight about that from Gregory the Great in his preaching. And he asks, why did Jesus send out the disciples 2 by 2? Like, one reason could be, that we could think of, would be normally a second person giving witness, seconding, we use the word seconding, an opinion seconding, a thought seconding, a statement, gives it greater reliability, greater acceptability, easier for the listener to say, wow, 2 people agree on this. So we usually have in meetings and all kinds of gremia, we have anybody seconding this? Aye, yeah. But Gregory's reason is different. He says the message of the gospel is charity. And so to give witness to charity, to proclaim the mystery of charity, we need to live charity. And so nobody's qualified to preach unless they're people living charity. They're able to bear the burden, I would say, of other people, because each of us is a burden for the other. The person is very heavy. The person can be very delightful, very entertaining, very humorous, inspiring. But to live with the same person on a trip, even we see it with the pilgrims, sometimes a person comes to the reception and says, hey, I need another room. Even if I pay more, I go single in this room because I just can't stand it with this other person. Well, most people won't say that, but they'll just give some other reason, but they can't share the space with another person. And in that sense, married couples are great witnesses to the gospel because they're living together. Families are incredible witnesses to the gospel because it's more people together, communities, religious life communities, monasteries, friends working together, believing in the Lord, great witnesses to the gospel. He sends us out 2 by 2. There are many more beautiful inspirations for us there, so I encourage you to enjoy the delights of Luke's gospel today and pondering the great gift of his person that's still shining brightly. Imagine we were reading that today, we're talking about it, we're enjoying it. So every disciple of Jesus can leave a lot of fruit long after their passing. The fruit comes through the work of the Holy Spirit, so we don't have to boast about it, but we can be thankful and grateful. And I thank you for tuning in again this morning, coming online here in this nice spot. God bless you. See you later, alligators.